she said. I don't see this lasting, so don't get too attached. While sipping wine at the resort I paid for, so I walked away and let her figure out her own ride home. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I wasn't flashy. I didn't post about my relationship every 2 days. I wasn't some six-figure guy flying her out to Paris or flexing in front of rented sports cars. But I showed up. Every single time. When Maya and I met, I honestly thought I hit the jackpot. She was beautiful in that effortless way that made you feel like you had to earn her attention. Wavy black hair, cheekbones that could cut glass, sarcastic sense of humor, and this calm, distant energy that made you lean in harder just to feel close. She was the kind of woman who walked into a room and made people sit up straighter. I met her at a rooftop birthday party one of our mutual friends dragged me to. I was standing by the grill holding a paper plate of half-burnt sliders when she walked up and asked, "You the chef or just socially awkward like me?" I smiled. "Both." She laughed. We talked for the rest of the night. And that was it. I was hooked. We started dating a couple weeks later. At first, it was incredible. Late-night drives. Takeout on my couch. Random bookstore dates because she liked the smell of paper. She had this magnetic energy that pulled me in completely. But the closer I got, the more I realized I was the only one moving forward. Maya never really let people in. At first, I thought it was just her being guarded. But looking back, it was something else, something colder. Whenever I'd open up about my past or my goals, she'd change the subject. If I got excited about something, she'd respond with a flat, "That's cool." When I'd tell her I missed her, she'd say, "Ah, that's sweet," and keep scrolling on her phone. But I kept trying. Because when you fall for someone like Maya, you convince yourself the moments of warmth mean more than the hours of silence. You chase the highs, ignore the lows, and call it just how she is. The first big test was when she lost her job. Some drama with her manager, she said. I offered to help with her resume, even hooked her up with a recruiter I knew. But what she really needed, apparently, was just time to breathe. So I covered more of our date nights. I picked up her Uber Eats once or twice a week. When she hinted she was late on rent, I wired her $600 without her having to ask directly. She didn't say thank you. She just texted me, "Got it." My friends call me a simp. I called it love. Another time, she got sick. Not seriously, but the kind where she couldn't get out of bed and whined about everything hurting. I canceled my birthday dinner plans to take care of her. Made soup, picked up her meds, cleaned her apartment. She said, "You're so sweet," then passed out while I rubbed her back. She didn't come to my rescheduled birthday the next week. Said she forgot it was that day. I should have seen the signs, I know. But love makes you willfully blind. Especially when it feels like you're one good moment away from everything clicking. That one good moment became a trip I started planning in secret. She mentioned once, just once, that she loved the ocean. That it made her feel peaceful, like she could finally breathe. So I saved up over 3 months. Picked a weekend where neither of us had obligations. Booked a private room at a luxury beachside resort about 3 hours out of town. It was right before her birthday, and I imagined how she'd light up when I surprised her. How maybe this would be the thing that finally melted the wall she kept between us. I even engraved a small silver bracelet with a quote she once said to me after a night drive. "I never feel safe with people, but with you I do." Back then, I thought that meant something. The night before the trip, I cleaned my apartment, shaved, packed everything neatly. Picked her up with her favorite coffee in the cup holder. When I told her we were taking a weekend trip, surprise, she blinked at me and said, "Seriously? Like right now?" I smiled, trying to ease her into it. "It's all planned. Just pack a bag. I'll drive." She hesitated, then gave a half smile. "Okay, that's cute." Cute. Not amazing. Not wow, just cute. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe she was overwhelmed. The drive was quiet. She was on her phone most of the time, giggling at her group chat. I kept trying to start conversations, but they fizzled. I asked if everything was okay. She said, "Yeah, I'm just tired. And I'm not used to surprises." I nodded. Told myself it would get better once we arrived. That maybe the beach would soften her mood. But somewhere deep down, under the hope, under the effort, I already knew. This wasn't a woman who was drifting. This was a woman who had already emotionally left. And I was just the guy still holding the rope. The resort was beautiful. Ocean view. Private balcony. That perfect sound of waves breaking just far enough to soothe you without interrupting your thoughts. I'd chosen it carefully, Maya's dream weekend, or so I thought. When we checked in, she barely looked around. No wide-eyed surprise, no impressed smile, nothing. She dropped her bag, flopped onto the bed, and immediately pulled out her phone. Wi-Fi password, she asked without looking up. I gave it to her. That night, I booked us dinner at the best restaurant on the resort grounds. I put on the nicest shirt I owned. She wore a silky red dress and heels that made her a few inches taller. She looked incredible, the kind of breathtaking that made other tables glance our way. I felt proud, nervous, stupidly hopeful. We sat under a canopy of fairy lights, ocean breeze rolling in, candles flickering between us. I handed her a small gift box across the table. The bracelet. She opened it slowly. Read the engraving. Her face didn't change. Wow, she said flatly. You remembered that? Of course, I smiled. It meant something to me. She slid the bracelet back into the box without putting it on. I swallowed hard. Is something wrong? She took a sip of wine, looked out toward the beach. Maya, she finally looked at me. You really want to have this conversation here? She said quietly. Maybe it's the perfect place, I said. I'm just trying to understand where you are in all this. With us. She leaned back in her chair like she was bored, twirled her wine glass by the stem. I mean, I like you, she said. I enjoy your company. But, she shrugged. You get way too emotionally invested. It's like you're already 10 steps ahead, imagining forever. I don't move like that. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, I said calmly. I just want to know if we're growing in the same direction. Because sometimes it feels like I'm the only one trying. She tilted her head and gave me this weird, almost pitying smile. Like I was a confused child asking about things too big for him. Then she said it. Just like that. Don't get too attached. I don't see this lasting, to be honest. It hit like a slap. She said it so casually, like she was commenting on the weather. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard her right. You don't see this lasting? I repeated. I mean, I don't know, she said with a small laugh. You're a sweet guy? Really? But I'm still figuring myself out. I'm not in a place where I want something serious. You're safe. Stable. That's great, for someone else. I stared at her. Not angry. Not heartbroken yet. Just hollow. I planned this trip for you, I said quietly. I know. And it's beautiful. But that's kind of the problem, right? You're already all in. You treat me like I'm some prize you've already won. I never said that. You didn't have to, she said, taking another sip of wine. You're planning getaways and gifting jewelry. I'm just not there. Honestly, I don't know if I ever will be. Not with you. She said it with a tone of detached honesty, like she was doing me a favor by being real. No apology. No hesitation. I sat there in silence. No anger. No yelling. No desperate, pathetic questions like, can we fix this? I just let the truth sit in the air like the smoke curling from the candlewick. Then I nodded once. She raised an eyebrow. That's it. I smiled faintly. Yeah, that's it. I paid the check. We walked back to the room. She slipped off her heels and flopped onto the bed, sighing like nothing had happened. She scrolled through her phone while I packed my small duffel. Did she notice? No. She fell asleep before midnight, laughing at something on TikTok. That was the last night Maya saw me. Maya didn't stir when I slipped out of bed. It was just past 6 a.m. The sun was starting to rise, soft golden streaks creeping across the water like it knew something she didn't. I stood by the balcony for a minute, watching the waves roll in, letting the stillness ground me. I'd packed everything the night before. My wallet, my keys, my charger, even the extra contact case she always forgot to bring. I left no trace. Just the bracelet, the one I'd engraved with a memory she clearly never meant, sitting on the nightstand next to her buzzing phone. I didn't write a note. I didn't text or call. I just left. I checked out at the front desk before 7, canceled the rest of the reservation, and made sure her name was on the remaining charges. I'd only booked one more night, non-refundable. She could enjoy it, or not. It was her vacation now. By 10:30, my phone lit up. Where are you? Then, did you go somewhere? 5 minutes later, you're not serious right now. I muted her number and tossed the phone on the passenger seat. The road back was quiet, peaceful, the kind of quiet I hadn't felt in months. Not empty, not lonely, just clean. She called. 5 times. Then 10. Then came the texts. Why are you acting like a child? You could have just said something instead of ghosting me in the middle of nowhere. I have no money on me. Are you actually just leaving me here? I didn't respond. She wasn't nowhere. She was in a luxury resort with a spa, breakfast buffet, and a fully staffed concierge desk. She'd be fine, unless she'd spent all her money trying to impress people online, which, as I later learned, was exactly what happened. Apparently, she didn't realize I hadn't linked my card to the extended stay. Or maybe she just assumed I'd pay for everything as usual. But when she went to check out the next day, she was hit with a few hundred in charges for minibar items, spa treatments, and the late checkout fee. She called me in a panic. Blocked. She tried Venmo requesting me the money. Just help me this once. Denied. Then she tried texting from a different number. This is beyond petty. You think this makes you the good guy? Still no reply. By then, I was back home, showered, in fresh clothes, sitting at a barbecue my coworker had invited me to, surrounded by laughter and grilled corn and people who didn't make me feel like I had to earn basic kindness. I posted a photo, not of me, but the view from my friend's backyard, blue sky, cold drink, someone's dog curled up under the table. The caption was simple, "Peace looks good on me." Within an hour, Maya viewed it. 3 dots appeared in my DM, then disappeared. The fallout came fast. According to our one mutual friend who still talked to her, she had to borrow money from the front desk to cover part of the bill. They held her license until someone wired her enough to leave. That someone wasn't me. It turned out she hadn't brought a credit card, just a debit card with $42 in it. She thought I'd handle everything. Of course she did. I always had before. She got home late, furious, and humiliated. Posted a passive-aggressive story the next day. Some people will never appreciate loyalty. Loyalty? I nearly laughed when I saw it. The girl who told me not to get too attached, who sat across from me in a candlelit restaurant and casually announced she didn't see us lasting, was now acting like I'd betrayed her. The irony could have choked a horse. The following week, she tried again, this time through my sister. She DM'd her with a screenshot of a photo I took of Maya months earlier on one of our late-night drives. She added, "Can you tell him I miss him? That I didn't mean what I said that night." My sister showed me. I shrugged. "Are you going to say anything?" she asked. "Nope." "You really done?" I was done the second she called me a backup plan in a red dress. I didn't want revenge. I didn't need to blow up her life or post about her or expose receipts. All I needed was that silence, the kind she couldn't control, couldn't spin, couldn't gaslight her way through. No closure, no fight, just a disappearing act she never expected. Because Maya thrived on being chased, on dangling affection like a prize you had to beg for. But when I stopped playing, there was nothing left for her to hold on to. By the time July hit, Maya's Instagram looked like a sad reboot of her old life. Gone were the thirst traps with clever captions. Gone were the curated brunch pics and sunny filters. Now it was quotes about healing and reposted TikToks complaining about emotionally unavailable men. The irony practically dripped off the screen. She unfollowed me, then refollowed me 2 days later, then unfollowed again. I didn't engage. Not once. But the messages didn't stop. "I've been thinking about everything. I wasn't in the right headspace before. You were actually really good to me, and I didn't appreciate it. I was scared of how stable you were. I thought that meant boring. But I get it now." I read every word, never typed a single one back. Because by then, I'd already met someone else. Her name's Elise. We met at a friend's game night. She's nothing like Maya, and I mean that as the highest compliment possible. She asks how I'm feeling without it being a lead-up to a complaint. She listens. She laughs with her whole body. When she's with me, she's with me. No half-attention, no hidden motives. A few weeks after we started dating, Elise brought over homemade lasagna and a 6-pack. We sat on my floor, playing a card game, legs tangled under a blanket. She looked at me mid-laugh and said, "You look lighter, like you finally exhaled." And I realized I had. I wasn't carrying Maya's emotional deadweight anymore. Maya's final stunt came during a friend's birthday dinner in late August. It was one of those group events with long tables and too many people talking at once. I showed up with Elise. She wore a sunflower dress and carried a bottle of wine she picked out because it had the prettiest label. I couldn't stop smiling. Halfway through dinner, I saw her, Maya, sitting across the room with 2 other girls. I hadn't known she was invited. She froze when she saw us. Her expression flickered, disbelief, then bitterness, then that fake neutral face she always used when trying not to cry in public. She watched Elise laugh with my hand on her knee. Eventually, she approached me at the bar while Elise was in the bathroom. "Can we talk for a second?" she asked. I nodded, not out of hope, just curiosity. We stepped onto the patio. She looked me up and down like she didn't recognize me. And honestly, she didn't. I wasn't the quiet, patient guy sitting across from her hoping to be chosen anymore. I'd already chosen me. I've been trying to reach you, she started. I said. Look, I don't expect you to forgive me or anything. I messed up. I thought I wanted freedom, but I ended up isolating myself from the only real thing I had. You were solid. You were safe. That should have meant something to me. She looked away, trying to blink something back. I get it now, she whispered. I really do. I didn't say anything. She stepped closer. I miss you. I miss us. We had something, don't pretend we didn't. I took a slow breath and looked her dead in the eyes. You told me not to get too attached, I said. So I didn't. She opened her mouth, stunned. You were right, Maya. It didn't last. She looked like she'd just been slapped. I shrugged gently, like it wasn't even personal anymore, because it wasn't. Now, I honestly don't think about you at all. She swallowed. Is she the reason you're acting like this? No, I said. You are. You taught me how to let go. A silence fell between us. Then she laughed once, dry, bitter. Wow. So that's it. After everything. There is no everything, I said. There's just what you threw away. I turned to leave. But before I did, I added one more thing. Not out of pettiness, just closure. You didn't lose me when you said it wouldn't last. You lost me when I realized. I agreed with you. I walked back into the restaurant and found Elise sitting at the table, chatting with my friends like she'd known them for years. She smiled when she saw me. Not a performative grin, just a soft, warm expression that said, "You're safe here." I sat down beside her, and she leaned into me without thinking. Maya never did that. Later that night, as we were leaving, Maya was still there, alone, scrolling through her phone, her wine glass untouched. She looked up one last time, searching for something in my face. I gave her nothing. No glance. No smirk. No reaction. She wasn't the villain anymore. She was just no one. I haven't heard from her since. But sometimes I think about that night at the resort, the dinner, the bracelet, the way she said it like she was doing me a favor. Don't get too attached. I used to replay that line over and over in my head, like I needed to make sense of it. Now, I'm just glad I listened. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.